Hello, everyone. I'm Himakar Perez. I'm really excited to share with you how to build a no-code AI model to auto-tag customer requests. Over the past few years, there has been a lot of excitement about how AI and machine learning could help businesses drive process efficiencies, reduce operating costs, and improve customer satisfaction. What we're seeing now is some hard results coming in from those early adopters, and they look quite promising. For this reason, now there is even more widespread demand to actually go ahead and implement these technologies into our everyday apps and workflows. But the problem is building a great workflow system or building a great app is hard enough. To implement these smart capabilities, you'll have to do a lot more work on top of that. And we're already working with tight budgets and tight timelines. But today we're going to look at an easy way to add these smart capabilities into your apps and workflows. We're going to start with a business requirement. Then we're going to design a solution. Then we are going to implement that solution and run a few quick tests. So you'll get to see the whole process that you need to go through to use a no-code AI model in your solution. At the end, I'm going to share with you a couple of things that you'll need to build your own AI models that you can plug into your apps and workflows. So stick around. I hope to make this the most productive 30 minutes you're going to spend your day to day. Let's start by looking at the business requirement. So we're going to look at a hypothetical customer that we're going to call Google Cloud Platform, HCP. The company offers a variety of infrastructure and platform as service products. HCP's technical organization triages incoming tickets by bucketing them into P1, P2, or P3, P1 being the highest priority items and P3 being the least priority items. HCP is planning to provide support through additional channels. As you know, more steps you put between you and your customer, less the customer satisfaction is going to be. What they do now is directing the customers to a portal where they can self-select whether the ticket is P1, P2, or P3 and go from there. But what they're looking to do is make customer support available across multiple channels. So they will start with email and they want to look into expanding to community forums, chat messaging, or even text messaging. But the problem is, when you do it, there's no easy way to self-select and identify whether an incoming ticket is P1, P2, or P3. So HCP's customer experience management is asking us to design a solution to automatically detect whether an incoming ticket is a high priority or low priority item. So for HCP, P1 tickets are anything that affects the production infrastructure. Customers are having serious issues using the production infrastructure. P2 would be things like expanding capacity, things that are not quite critical, but could affect performance and functionality in production environments. And P3 covers your consultative questions and everyday questions about the technology and products and services HCP is offering. Let's look at the solution approach. There are three core requirements here. The first one is you have to monitor a shared email inbox to detect incoming customer requests. Where we do this has to be extensible because in the future, HCP might want to add additional channels that they want to monitor. And the second core requirement is that the solution should be able to automatically recognize whether an incoming ticket is P1, P2, or P3 based on the message's content. And third core requirement is that the solution should be able to conditionally add tasks to the appropriate support queue based on the determination of the urgency of the ticket. So if we map this out, here's how it looks. So we have to monitor the inbox, detect priority, and add it to one of these three queues. So as solution designers, you can say right off the top that the first layer and the last layer, you can easily tackle these two things with a workflow automation solution. There are many different tools out there that are quite capable of doing this, and this is a very common requirement that we see every day. But the middle part has to be a smart capability. We can't easily define rules to detect these things because customers could be using a lot of different language. And for this, we are going to need an AI model. So let's go through the implementation approach. We're going to need a workflow builder because we need something to monitor incoming email and do task routing. HCP in this case has Zapier. It's a basic workflow tool. We're going to use that. And then we're going to need a task tracking and assignment tool. HCP has Trello, a basic task tracking tool. We're going to use that for this solution. Now, the last two things are the tricky ones. We're going to need an AI model, and then we're going to need an API wrapper to make that AI model available to the workflow system, because the workflow system should be able to invoke the model by sending some data and get a prediction back and use that prediction to assign things to the right queue. So there are two high-level options. There are two approaches that we can take here. One is you can build it in-house, build it yourself, both the model and the API. The second approach is you can use a no-code model generator. Let's think about what you'll have to do if you're going to build this AI model the old way. You have to first collect a training data set. You can get this from your existing help desk system or existing task management, queue management system, and export this stuff out. And then you'll have to clean and pre-process that training data to remove any characters, remove any characteristics that could break things down the line. And then you'll have to split this training data set into two sets, one for training and the other one for testing. We withhold some of this training data where we know the right answers to, so we can quiz the model to see how it's performing. And then we're going to build a series of models using various algorithms and optimizations and score them individually to get some results about how they're performing with the test set. And then we're going to compare these model scores to find the best performing one. And that's the one that we're going to proceed with into the production environment. Now, to make this available, we'll have to build an API wrapper. So you'll have to pick something like Flask or Django as your framework, web framework, and figure out how to host the model and how to develop the web service. You'll probably use something like Python, and then figure out how to host it, deploy it, and all the good stuff using and set up CI/CD and all these additional steps. And it doesn't stop there. You'll have to monitor the model. You have to figure out how to retrain it on go-forward basis. So there's a lot more work involved here. This is work you have to do on top of all the work that you did in building the solution and delivering business value. I worked for over 10 years with clients like Toyota Motors, Wyeth Pharmaceuticals, New York City government, Rogers Telecom, designing and implementing process automation solutions. One thing that I learned the hard way is that you don't get recognized, or your goal is not to go get in the technical weeds. You have to deliver business value, and you have to do that as quickly as possible. So if we go down the path of building these models for each and every requirement and spend weeks or months doing that, we'll have not much to show for when the business is looking to see the results of our work. So we need to find ways to do this technical work as quickly as possible, and that's where the no-code option comes into play. So when we use the no-code option, you can auto-generate the AI API and the model without having to go through all these steps. It becomes quite straightforward and quite easy. So that's the approach we're going to take, and that's what we're going to dive in and discuss today. Great, let's go build the solution. There are two components to the solution. The first component is doing the workflow configuration using Zapier. The second component is using Hydra to building our no-code AI model and the API. Let's look at our Zapier configuration. So these are the three workflow steps that we're going to run anytime an email hits the shared inbox used by the HCP support team. So when an email comes, it's going to extract the subject and message body, and it's going to use this data and pass that over to our AI model and get a prediction back and use that prediction to route the task to the appropriate queue. So we have three separate queues. They all are separate Trello boards. And when a new task comes in, it's going to create a new card in the correct board, and so that way the support team can pick it up from there. Great. Let's go and take a look at how to build our AI model. We're going to go to build.hydra.ai, and I'm going to go to the sign up screen here. And I'm going to create a new account for HCP support. Now, in a minute, I'm going to get a confirmation email to activate my account. I'm going to click this link to activate the account, and I'm going to log in to my Hydra account. When you first log in, you're going to see your dashboard screen. This is where you can see your usage stats. You can see the number of active models you have, the total events processed by Hydra for you, and your usage of the credits. And next, you have the models list. This is where you'll see any of the models that you've previously created, and you can also create new models through this screen by clicking on this plus icon. And then we have the automation screen. You can create your own automations inside Hydra to run after each prediction as well. So for example, you can run your own custom web service endpoints, code modules, etc., using this approach, but we're not going to use this one for today's solution. We're going to use Zapier. but there is another option here as well. And then you have the settings screen. This is where you'll manage your account, generate API keys, and manage your team. Let's go back to the model screen and click on this plus icon to create a model. When you create a model in Hydra, you start by selecting a model template. The model template dictates what kind of algorithms and optimizations are going to be tried out in the process of generating your model. So it's very important you pick the right one. We're going to look through these. And so we are looking at picking up a message and then predicting a label that says P1, P2, or P3. So this is the right one we should use. And then I'm going to give my model a name up here. I'm going to call it HCP ticket classifier. Then I'm going to hop over to the basic screen. You're going to use this left-hand navigation to go through the steps and complete the setup process. On the basic screen, you can define a minimum confidence threshold. So minimum confidence threshold is the accuracy the model has to hit before it can send you prediction results. So if it's below this number, it won't send you any prediction results. Then we have to define the data labels and the values. It's very important we use the right column names or the label names here. We're going to use a export from our help desk existing ticket data to train this model. So let's take a quick look at how that looks. So this is the data set that we're going to use to train this model. So we have a request column and we have a priority column. So the priority column is our data label. And then we have value options P1, P2, and P3. So we have the data label and value option now set up. We're going to skip over the automation screen because we're not going to use it here. And it has already created a placeholder for our model. I'm going to save this. Now, when I save it, Hydra is going to automatically generate the model's endpoint, and you have the additional details here. The next step we have to do is go and upload some training data to this model. There are multiple ways to do that. For this solution, we're going to upload some training data using a CSV file directly here. So I'm going to click that upload icon, and I'm going to drag and drop the Excel sheet that we looked at earlier. So here you have two columns of the request details and the priority label. I'm going to drag and drop a file here. So when you do this, it's going to queue the file for processing. So it's going to take a couple of minutes. And once it's ready, we're going to get an email saying how many training data items were created from this file. So let's go back to inbox here. Great. So it already processed it and added 30 training data items to this model. So we only have 10 entries per each label. It's not a lot. It's good enough for a demo. We'll go ahead and build this model. So to do that, we're going to click this button. When you click this button, this is where all the heavy lifting happens. This is where the system actually runs through all the manual steps that we talked about earlier, automatically saving you a ton of time and effort. So I'm going to click this one. It's going to add the model to the training queue. It's going to take a few minutes. It's going to take the data that we provided and pre-format it, pre-process it, and create two data sets out of it, a training set and a testing set. Then it's going to run through various set of algorithms and optimizations, and then it's going to score them and compare the scores and pick the best one and push the model that it generated into an API endpoint. So all that happens automatically. It takes a couple of minutes, and then once it's done, you're good to go. So once it's ready, we should get another email indicating that the process was completed. So we got our email. Training was completed with a 75% score. So this score is out of 100. You can improve this score by adding more training data, but we're going to proceed with the 75% score for the time being. And the next step is I'm going to toggle and activate this model. It's simply a kill switch. So if you want your model to stop responding to requests, you can turn it off by using this switch. The next step is I'm going to preview a few predictions. Let's see how the model is doing. So let's try asking a basic question like, is there an option configure a distributed Redis instance on HCP? So we can test how the model is doing by using this tool. So it's predicting that as P3, which is accurate. Then let's do another test. Let's say something like looking for a way to expand our production database disk capacity with any downtime. Appreciate any help. All right, let's try this one. So it's coming back as P2, which makes sense. So this perfectly matches what we're looking for. Let's go back to Zapier and wire in our new no-code AI model. So what we're going to need is a URL. We're going to grab that from the model summary screen. So we should add predict at the end of this URL because that's the base URL for the model. And then we're going to need an API key. So I'm going to type in API key here, and then we're going to go and grab one from Hydra. So to do that, we're going to go to settings screen. We're going to go to API keys and generate a new API key. I'm going to call it HCP support workflow and save it, and then grab this API key. Come back and paste it into this box. And I'm going to continue to save it. And once that's done, I'm going to turn it on. The next step, what we're going to do is go send out some emails to HCP support. We have these 3 Trello boards here. We have a board for P1, P2, and P3. We're going to send out a few emails and see how they get processed by the system. We're going to do one that should be a P1 issue first. Let's say production issues. Let's say our core database instance is unavailable in production. Users can't connect, use the app, need urgent help. Let's try this one. So once I send this email, it hits the inbox of the support team. Then Zapier can pick that up, extract the message subject and message body, and pass that text to Hydra's AI endpoint and get a response. And based on whether the response is P1, P2, or P3, assign it to the right queue. So this takes about a minute. Let's go to the P1 cases queue. There you go. So we have the production issue showing up here. Let's send another ticket that should be a P3 case. Let's ask a question. Let's ask something like this. So it goes through the same process, and we expect this one to make it to the P3 board. There you go. So it made it to the P3 board. You can see the question that we sent over here. What we just saw is the whole process of building a solution with smart capabilities to process your incoming support requests and assign them to the right queue. We use Zapier as our workflow automation tool. You can use any commonly used workflow automation tool for this purpose. And we use Trello as our task tracking tool. Again, you can use any commonly used task tracking tool for this purpose as well. And we use Hydra's no-code AI builder to automatically generate a machine learning model and an API endpoint for that machine learning model. So we can save a ton of time doing all the manual, laborious work that is typically involved with building and deploying AI models. What this is going to do is really help you focus on delivering business value rather than getting lost in the technical weeds. And after all, no one gets measured when you're delivering solutions on how much time you spend figuring out the technology. What you get measured is based on how much value you deliver to the business. So that's what this will help you do. In addition, another great benefit of that is now you have the capability to go and deploy smart features in a lot of places that you weren't able to do before because there wasn't enough time and enough budget to take on those challenges. Now you can deploy smart features in a lot more ubiquitous fashion because you have this capability. And we have a couple of exciting updates coming very soon as well. So if you want to use this kind of capability in your own apps, we're releasing over the next few days a series of client SDKs, client libraries that you can drop into your own programs and invoke this capability. And we are also releasing more and more algorithm templates every week. So you'll have a ton of options to choose from when you're looking to automate things in your workflows and apps. Don't forget to head to build.hydra.ai and sign up for your own free Hydra account. I look forward to seeing what you build. Thank you.